Hey there, today is a really exciting day. We have new spoilers for Shadows of the Galaxy. I did not think that these would be coming so early in April. I did hear rumblings that we'd be hearing things in April, but this is really exciting. I have some cards to share today, some art to share. I actually posted a video earlier today and took it down because they just released a ton more stuff. So the set is going to be released on July 12th. There's going to be 262 cards in set 2. So there's going to be 10 more cards than what they had in set 1, which is interesting. I don't know what that means per se, but that's a lot of additional cards here. So 262 cards. We have both of the starter leaders today. So Moff Gideon here, he and Mandalorian comes out at 5 resources. He's a 3/6 when he comes out. His action ability on his leader side is attack with a unit that costs 3 or less. If it's attacking a unit, it gets +1/+0 for the attack. So it's interesting because it seems like early game, you can use him to basically buff up your guys to help control the board. Very interesting. But then he comes out at 5 and then he turns into a 3/6 with overwhelm. So still can attack units and trample damage over. But he gives each friendly unit that costs 3 or less +1 attack and overwhelm while attacking an enemy unit. So just continuing to eliminate units and get damage over to their base. Super strong card. I already think if this card were playable right now, I think it would be a top tier deck. I think it would be one of the best decks because being able to like math out your opponent by ticking stuff up 1 power to eliminate their 4 power with a 3 power. And then to be able to do overwhelm damage with all your ambush units. I am really afraid of this leader. I think this is going to give Control a lot of tools in its tool belt, and we'll have to see what happens in the future. We don't know yet, but in the future things will come. Mandalorian, I think it has the better art. It is exactly what I anticipated. I guessed about a month ago that he'd be cunning heroism and he'd be an upgrade-focused leader, partially because we got hints of we actually have the Mando in set 1, with snapshot reflexes, and it's an upgrade and it's a yellow card. So I kind of guessed he was going to be an upgrade focused leader and cunning. When you play an upgrade, you may exhaust this leader. If you do, exhaust an enemy unit with 4 or less remaining HP. So it's a passive, it triggered automatically. You don't have to use an action to use his leader ability. It's a passive trigger. And you may exhaust the leader if you do exhaust an enemy unit with 4 or less remaining HP. So again, it's kind of weird because it's playing tempo. It's a little bit of tempo here. Epic action, he comes out at 6 and he turns into a 4/7. So he comes out later in the game. What's interesting is he comes out 1 turn later than Boba Fett, but he has the same stat line as Boba Fett. So that is interesting. It is a starter deck leader, so it's meant to be a little bit more, for people to buy into the game. They can buy a starter deck. It's for us too if you're really already into the game, but it's also to get to new players in the game. He's a very upgrade and tempo focused leader card, and I could, like I said, I think I put a lot of the double cunning cards as like some of my top picks for the next set, and I think that is only being confirmed here, doing what cunning wants to do, tapping stuff down, being able to swing in without worrying about what your opponent's units are going to do. So interesting card. I'm not sure if it's going to be playable because he comes out at 6 and he's got the same stat line as Boba Fett. But I do like that, I do like the color combination, and I hope cunning heroism just gets better over time. So next is, I'm going to go through the upgrades that impact Mando. So 0 costed wanted, it gives, you attach it to any unit, you're going to be attaching it to your opponent's units. Bounty. Bounty is when you eliminate the unit, when it's defeated or captured, you collect the bounty. So what bounty is like when you meet those criteria, you get the reward. And so for this card, it gives a specific reward, and the reward is readying 2 friendly resources. So you play this for 0 on one of your opponent's units, and then when you eliminate one of your opponent's units, you can get resources back. This is quite good. I think this is really good because it allows you to untap a lot of resources. It costs 0, but if you're able to eliminate something, it actually gives you 2 resources later on in that turn or later on in the game. And then captured is an interesting ability. We'll see that in a second. Seems okay in some decks. Interesting. Not sure what we can cook up with it. Love seeing more 0 costed cards. A lot of testing needs to be done. These cards are really going to change the meta. Next is one of my favorite cards today that was released, the Mandalorian's Rifle. It's a unique upgrade attached to a non-vehicle unit, so you have to attach it to something in the ground arena, probably. There are some vehicles in the ground arena, but you know what I mean. I think this card's insane. It's essentially Oblivion Ring from Magic the Gathering, but on an upgrade. And so let's see what this does. When played, if the attached unit is the Mandalorian, which we're probably going to get the unit and the leader Mandalorian, he captures an exhausted enemy non-leader unit. So put the capture card face down under the Mandalorian until he leaves play. So very, very strong, and it gives +3 attack. So Oblivion Ring is a card in Magic the Gathering that does the same thing. When you play it, you get to exile a non-land card. So basically, a lot of times you're, eliminating a creature or a unit on their side of the field. So very, very powerful effect. The fact that you can play this with the Mandalorian, get rid of something and tap something, because the Mandalorian has a passive ability, is very strong. We'll have to see what comes of this, but I'm honestly kind of interested in playing Double Cunning Heroism here with the Mandalorian. I think that could be really, really fun, and using upgrades to just aggro out your opponent and then tap everything down so they can't do anything early game. So now last card here is Grogu, kind of a weird card. It's he's playing with that little, stick in the show, the little ball. It's a 0/5. Whatever happened to him doing that crazy force explosion, I don't know. Not sure what to think about this card. It's a 0/5. You can tap him to exhaust an enemy unit. He is a force unit, so he comes down early. It's another force card. Very interesting card design going on here. Give it Sentinel. I don't know. I will say we're going to see in a second that this color pairing is being pushed with blue. And we see that with the Mandalorian's ship here. It's blue heroism. It's a 3/4 space unit for 4, and it's got Restore 2. So you heal 2 when you attack with it, and when played, you may return an upgrade from your discard pile to your hand. So Mando being pushed into blue as a color pairing. Interesting. Not sure, we'll have to see more cards here, but blue does have a lot of good upgrades already in set 1, and being able to get upgrades back is going to be really good value. It prevents Mando from fizzling out. So now we're going to be going to to Moff Gideon's cards here. These come probably in his starter deck. This is a starter deck card. It's a 3/3 Sentinel for 3 in Command and Villainy. So it's a strictly better Cell Block Guard. So Cell Block Guard is a 3/3 for 3 in just Villainy, but if you're playing Command, you're going to be playing this, because when this unit is dealt damage, you give an experience token to it if it survives. So this is a strictly better Cell Block Guard if you are running green. So this plus Overwhelming Barrage seems insane, right? You get to give him +2/+2 for the phase and then eliminate a bunch of stuff and then attack into something, or stuff has to attack into him. Again, I'm really worried about Command Villainy getting even more control stuff. I feel like Command and Villainy plus like blue or whatever, or red, is a very strong color pairing right now. And yeah, it's definitely, we're going to be going into some serious early game control here. Very strong card. Next is Gideon's Light Cruiser. I call it, the poor man's Darth Vader. It's a 7/8 space unit with Overwhelm, and it's just in Villainy, but when you play it, if you control Moff Gideon as a leader or unit, you may play a Villainy unit that costs 3 or less from your hand or discard pile for free. So it's doing something similar to Darth Vader, which Darth Vader does the same thing, where he lets you play a Villainy unit that costs 3 or less from the top 10 cards of your deck. So this is a less restrictive version of Darth Vader. It's not going to cost $100 or $85. It's probably going to cost like 10 cents. And it costs 1 more to play, and it has no ambush. So it's not as good, it's not as good. But it's good to see that we're not just leaving these abilities in crazy expensive cards. We can get this in a starter deck. Very cool. Love to see that. Love to see the design kind of trickle down into cheaper cards. All right. The last card here is Collected or Calculated Lethality. Defeat a non-leader unit that costs 3 or less for each upgrade that was on that unit. Give an experience token to a friendly unit. So it seems like a weaker version of Takedown, which is an existing 4-cost blue removal. We'll have to see what else is going on. What else is going to get printed to support this, if upgrades really do take over the meta, and it's like really crazy upgrade meta, then maybe we do need to see this card being played. I could see this, and it's interesting because it's not power based, it's cost based. So if a 3-cost unit gets super buffed up, this card can still hit it, where Takedown can only take out units that have 5 or less remaining HP. But keep in mind, this cannot target a leader, and takedown can target a leader. So it's interesting. I could see this becoming another staple in the blue-black control style decks. All right, so that's all we got today. This was amazing. I'm super hyped. I'm glad we got like, what, 10 cards today? This was very exciting to see, and I'm excited to see more cards. I'll be posting videos every day that the spoilers come out. Thank you for watching. Subscribe if you want to stay on top of spoilers for set 2.